My name is Ken Choy. Thank you so much for coming. If you could, let me introduce the panelists before you applaud so we can jump into the discussion right away. On my right, consulting producer to Once Upon a Time, Jane Espenson. We all got a clap for Jane Espenson, right? Samantha Humphrey for co-producer and writer for Body of Proof and Alias. Yeah, we're just going to applaud. Silvia Cardenas Olivas from Jesse's, Disney Channel's Jesse, as well as co-producer and writer of Moesha. Katia Mpambara, former writer on Aaron Stone. And from the Disney ABC TV writing program, Bennett Gonzalez. And we have two more panelists rushing up here without badges, but they'll get there eventually. So we're going to have fun, hopefully, to talk about the TV Writers' Room, and I'm glad to see that there are many Once Upon a Time fans. We'll grill, hopefully, Jane on some secrets that she can divulge on Once Upon a Time. I know in 3 weeks, her episode will start off the last 3 or 4 episodes, Jane?
I co-wrote episode 20 out of 22, so it'll be the first of the last 3, I guess, if you insist on counting it down.
And when are we going to learn about who Tamara is? That's my dying question.
You're presupposing that Tamara has a fairy tale character. I don't know that that's the case. It may be, it may not be.
I'm curious as how things are developed in the TV Writers' Room. That's why we're here. Can you give a snapshot of the TV Writers' Room of Once Upon a Time?
Yeah, by the way, guys, I have to leave in 20 minutes to get to another 2:30 panel. So I think we're going to do a lot of me, and then we're going to put, so it's not just me like hugging it, just like I'm just going to pass. What was the question? TV Writers' Room?
Yes, give us a snapshot of Once Upon a Time Writers' Room.
Once Upon a Time has a fantastic writers' room. We have a team. The showrunners are a team, a writing team. Eddie Kitsis and Adam Horowitz. And when there's a writing team in this town, you split your salary, you split your job. Technically, a boss can't say, like, you go to editing and you go to the stage. Like, they have to always be doing the same thing. They're treated as if they're one person. And when people say how many people are on a staff, if you've got a team, like, you sort of count them as a one person. And so Eddie and Adam are our boss. And they sit at one end of the table. And David Goodman, who was the writer's assistant on Buffy, sits next to me, and Andrew Chambliss, who I worked with on Dollhouse, sits across from me. And there's 2 women and like 5 men. No, 3 women and 5 men. So it's a really nice, balanced room. And we just sit there all day and talk about story. And we laugh and we write things on the board and we cross them out and we have great, big, huge ideas. And Eddie and Adam sit there and listen to everything we say, and then they turn it around and make it more brilliant, and then it goes up on the board. And that's what we do all day long.
So you compared a writer's room to a sleazy hotel room where stories are made. Is that something considerably to Once Upon a Time?
Yes, I mean, I guess, like, a sleazy affair and a smoky hotel room, like, it's messy. You don't want to tell people what happened there. Nobody took pictures. Yeah, it's got stuff in common. Yeah.
I'm interested in how things are developed. Stories and ideas are talked around in the writer's room, Jane?
Well, it's if any of you belong to a writing group where you sit with your friends, and probably a lot of these young people up here with me, like that's one of the things you do when you're starting out as a writer, is you just sit with friends and go, okay, I'm working on a spec pilot about my childhood, or I'm working on a spec episode of whatever it is, Once Upon a Time maybe. And you sit and go, I was thinking this might happen. And somebody else goes, oh, what if that happened? It's just that. It's just that with a conference table in the middle.
Samantha, how about you? Did you feel that your writer's room was a sleazy hotel room?
I would compare it more to a highly dysfunctional Thanksgiving dinner. In the sense that there's so many different personalities and so much energy, and if it works right, you all just love each other to death. Your quirks and everything, and you really appreciate each other's ideas. And I think that's what makes being in a writer's room the best job there is, I have to say. In some writers' rooms, if I could just say, I think I've gotten closer to people in those rooms than my own family, in terms of the depth of things I share, because you want to have your characters be emotionally honest, and in order to do that, you have to be emotionally honest, and a lot of times the most creative ideas come from those places of being really vulnerable, so.
How about Jesse, Silvia? Are you all pretending to be tweeners?
I was on Jessie the first season, and I think I was hard because I was one of the few writers who had the kids, so I was able to talk about the kids' perspective. I think when a comedy room was different, the difference between a comedy room and I think a drama room is it's more like a boys' club. Some of the jokes that go down and some of the stuff that's said is a little, you don't want to repeat, but then the funny thing about that is someone will say a joke and then you say, how can we clean it up for you? And so that's how it is. Basically, a lot of us just sitting around going, what do we want Jess to do this week? And the showrunners kind of guiding us through, and we pull a lot from what really happened in our lives. When I worked on Moesha, I pulled a lot from what happened in my nephews and nieces' lives, and they hated me. Why did you do that? We did that. But if you pull from real life, it's so you can sell your idea. Because you can go, this happened to me once, this happened to my niece, and all of a sudden people are like, what happened? Because it really happened.
Kind of, Aaronstone had a little supernatural overlay, yes?
I would say we had a lot of supernatural overlay. I tried to inject as much as I could into the show, as that's where my sensibilities go. I don't know if I would necessarily describe the writer's room for Aaronstone as a sleazy hotel room. Maybe I'm looking at it through a nostalgia filter, but I always kind of thought of it more as like a romantic bedroom where I sort of had like my first time. Because that was my first ever writer's room, And the dynamic for us, we were sort of in a unique situation because we had the two co-executive producers. They were both drama writers. And then we had two writing teams who specialized in comedy. And then I was the comic book action adventure sci-fi guy. So we all kind of came together and pooled our strengths to do a show that had certain serious dramatic elements, comedic elements, and a whole kind of action adventure sci-fi extravaganza. And they were very gentle. And it was a really good, positive, wonderful experience.
That's actually interesting. Jane Espenson, your specialty has become sci-fi, but you didn't start out that way. You started out writing an episode for Barney Miller, yeah?
No,
At 12 years old?
I wrote a spec episode of MASH.
Oh, MASH. That's
Well, that was just, never sent it anywhere. It was just back in my typewriter, because I'm that old, it was a typewriter. But yeah, I wanted to write for comedy, and I ended up pitching at Star Trek Next Generation because that's the only place in town you could pitch without an agent, although I was a huge fan. But I really thought I was destined for comedy. Got in the Disney Writers Fellowship in 1992 in the third year of the Disney program. And it was amazing. All you people, if you don't know about the Disney program, go out and apply to it because it's a great open door in Hollywood. And they placed me on, you only could get in with a half-hour comedy script because comedy was the only thing going on. And they placed me on Disney comedy, so I worked on Dinosaurs and then Monty, which was a Henry Winkler sitcom. And I spent 5 seasons in comedy. Transitioned to Buffy because I like the feeling of a drama room better. You're not up there, you're not 3 in the morning all writing the script together like you do on a comedy. But I still like to come back and visit. So I went back, I spent a season on Jake in Progress, a season on Andy Barker PI, which is one of Andy Richter's sitcoms. And now I co-created Husbands with Brad Bell, so I'm still keeping active in comedy. So I try to do it all, even though everyone will tell you you have to pick one or the other. I like to try to keep both plates spinning.
Would showrunners, you've been a showrunner, Jane, is it necessary for all the writers in the room to specialize in the sci-fi supernatural genre?
No, sci-fi and supernatural is more, I think it's more of a setting than a genre. You're still writing about people, and they feel all the same emotions, and they go through the same things, and they have marriages and kids and careers and failures and hopes and dreams. It's all the same stuff. Sci-fi doesn't change any of that. So if a person writes characters well, they can write sci-fi. It's just suddenly, whether or not Battlestar Galactica is a battleship on an ocean or a Battlestar in space, he's telling pretty much the same story. I don't think I would want a writer who just writes good people.
What about matching the showrunner's voice, Samantha? How important is it for a writer to be in a room to be able to do it?
I think it's really important, but I also, I think that is definitely, there's an art to that, because I think they want fresh and original, but you have to know the show, and you have to know the voices of the characters. I think it's less about the showrunner's voice and more about the voice of the characters that have been created. Now, if the showrunner's done that, then it's one and the same. But I think it's really important, but to be able to bring your own sensibilities with that is a plus. That's what makes your favorite episode. You know, that particular writer wrote that show. It's still the characters, it's still the character voices, but there was just something special about that episode that you all really loved, and that's because that writer was able to marry his or her sensibilities with the showrunner. So I think it's a skill that you learn. It's a skill that you develop.
Definitely would be a skill. How would you go about evoking that, matching the showrunners and finding your individual voice? It seems like a dichotomy there, and you're really fluctuating between the two, yeah?
Yeah, I think, well, for me personally, I come from kind of an odd background. I was a songwriter in Nashville for a little while, and writing for TV was actually a really good match because there's a rhythm to it, and there is a specific rhythm to shows, at least the shows that I've worked on, I've found. And if you can hook into that rhythm, that frees you up for your own voice. And I think you just have to find your way in. My way in is rhythm. My way in is listening to the characters kind of talk to me. And there's an expectation that you have to meet in terms of what the characters are going to say and do. And every once in a while, you got to throw a little one of your own surprises in there. And you just have to find your own way. My way is music. I listen to the characters and I listen to the script almost like I listen to a song.
Do you find that you can't write with music on? Because I can't, because I drowns out the voices of the characters.
I can't.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I say all of that, but I have to have
I inferred that because of the way we were talking about it, that like music, another set of music is going to clash with the set of music that the characters are creating by talking in your head.
Yeah.
I can't have anything on that drowns out the voices in my head.
Silvia, what about if you're a unique person in a writer's room, does that make you the go-to person for, say, female issues or Latina issues?
Yeah.
And is that good or bad in a writer's room?
It depends. Sometimes, if you guys aren't familiar with Jessie, it's about this nanny who takes care of kids from different ethnicities. And a lot of times and I was only Latina or person of color in the writer's room. So when there's a joke and they go, "Is this racist?" they'll all turn to me. I approve, you know. Or I don't. But in that case, it's kind of funny. But at the same time, I think they should know if it's racist or not. But it also helps. I'm gonna be honest. Being a diverse writer is kind of hard when you're trying to get staff. A lot of times showrunners will hire people they know, which makes sense, and then they say, "We have one spot for a diversity writer." A lot of times it's me and my friend, we're all trying to interview for the same job, and unfortunately it's usually a staff writer position, even though, you know, I ran a show for Nickelodeon, but you would still have to get that staff writer position. You're all fighting for one position. But on the positive side, the networks all want to have a Latino hit. At least they say they do. So I've written 6 pilots for networks with Latino pilots. They haven't even gotten picked up because I've paid for them. But I'm hoping there's going to be new strides this year and more Latino showrunners will emerge. So it's a double-edged sword, you know. Being Latina is great, but at the same time, when you're looking during staffing season, which is coming up in a couple of weeks, it's going to be the same group of writers trying to fight for the same low-level position, unfortunately.
So we were just joined by Kristine Huntley, who is a current fellow of the Writers Program, and she's also a former writer of Legends of the Seeker. And Ollie Ashtari Larki, she is also with the Disney TV writing program. Frank, how important, or what does the program do to get writers ready for the writing room?
Well, thanks for coming out, guys, this afternoon. For those of you that don't know about the Disney ABC writing program, actually that's the through line between this entire panel. We have, Jane got her start, or at least was nurtured through the program. Sam and Silvia and Kristine is currently in the program, and Ollie works with me to run the program. But, Disney's had this commitment for over 20 years to find new voices and nurture new voices. And it's a really exciting time in television to just where opportunities are happening in television. But it's a commitment to develop voices, and that's why we're here to talk about that as well. So Ken, can you repeat kind of the question that you were looking at specifically with the program?
What are the things that you do to prep writers to get into the program? Are there specific things that people can leave and think about to take home with?
Well, I think in terms of opportunities, and Ollie, please jump in, opportunities out there. Of course, our network is not the only network that has a writers program that looks for new talent, but we have a very intensive program. We go through a very intensive search process to find the top 8 writers that we put under contract to work with us for the year. And then we take those writers and we pitch them to the networks. ABC Family, Disney XD, ABC Studios, ABC TV Network. In terms of, for those of you who are really thinking about television writing, that's why we're here to talk about, you can do it. And also, I know that we have a short time, 3 o'clock when we finish. I just want to let you guys know that we're going to hang around afterwards to talk to you, and you guys want to check out and talk to us about your individual questions about TV writing. But it's a commitment to do this. It's a process to look for folks who are really committed to writing for television. For those of you guys who are really interested in writing material that are television specs or original material that trying to capture the voice of the show, those are the key things that we're looking for. People who are really committed to and have a passion for television. You want to add on it?
Ken, your question was prepping writers for the program? Okay.
For the writers program, after they get into the program.
Oh, after they get into the program. Well, what happens, and our application goes online, May 1st, for everyone or anyone that's interested in applying this year. The application window is from May 1st to June 1st. We choose our writers in December, and our writers traditionally start in January. This year was January 17th. They go for 1 year, so it would be January 17th, 2013 to January 17th, 2014. Once our writers get into the program, and there's an extensive vetting process. We have a round-robin interview process. We have interviews with our creative execs as well as with our staff. All of the material is being read prior to that. Once the writers get in, the first month, we're actually kind of priming and prepping them. During workshops, we have our showrunners come in to talk to our writers. This year, we took our writers over to talk to Eddie and Adam at Once Upon a Time. We were on the set of Scandal, and Shonda Rhimes sat down with our writers just to give an overview of what showrunners are looking for from young writers. These are different from writers going in as story editors or producers or co-EPs or EPs. It's very specific what's required for a staff writer. So we spend the first month doing that, kind of prepping them. We have someone another writer comes into our department, and we have a mock writers room session where we're breaking story, where we're talking about the outlines and breaking the story and all the ideas pitching. So all of these things are taught, not necessarily taught, but all these things are explored within that first month. ABC Family and Disney Channel start staffing for their shows in January, February. So we bring in 8 writers a year. Immediately, we send the material out to across the television group, which is ABC Network, ABC Family, Disney, and Disney XD. In January, February, ABC Family and the Disney Channel and Disney XD start reading our writers. And they read the material. If they respond to it, they want to meet our writers. This year alone, I think, we started the program January 17th. We've staffed 5 out of 8 writers already. We have 2 writers on ABC Family shows, which is The Fosters and Twisted. They're brand new shows. We have 2 writers on Disney shows, Dog with a Blog, and then there's and there's a new project that's being rolled out.
And hopefully, maybe once Wonderland opportunity for new writers.
I'm not going to be in charge of picking that staff. I don't know how my bosses will do it, but I know that this program does definitely have this amazing record of placing people and allowed me to skip all those really difficult steps of like moving to town without a job and working as a writer's assistant, which is a very hard job that I don't think I could do. And I never had to do it because I got in the Disney program and was able to sort of go right from struggling grad student to struggling staff writer without stopping in between.
Before you go, we only have a couple minutes with you, and I'm definitely watching the clock for you. I'd be remiss not to ask more about Once Upon a Time. Definitely the nuances. There's so many nuances in the show, and I pick up on these very unnoticeable nuances, as I'm sure many fans do. How much of that is worked out in the writer's room, and how much is that discovered at the typewriter?
Most things are worked out in the writer's room. Sometimes people ask me, like, when you go out to write an episode, do you work from an outline, or do you just, like, find the story as you go? Oh, no, every show is what you do in that room, what you do in the sleazy hotel room, is you are giving birth to an outline. And that's what the writer takes. When the writer leaves that room, they've got a really detailed, I guess, beat sheet. Then you go home and you turn it into an outline, and you know every beat of every scene, what order the information is going to come out. And so you are never just finding it. And so you may throw in a little detail here or there, and certainly the dialogue gets to come out of your brain as you're at home with your fingers on the keys. But most of the things you're talking about, the little nuances, the little connections, those are almost certainly worked out in the room.
Interesting. Can you, before you go, talk a little bit how the program helped you brand yourself as a writer?
Well, it definitely branded myself. I mean, it placed me on those early sitcoms, so in a way it sort of branded me as a sitcom writer, which isn't mostly what I do now, except for Husbands. So in a way, it put me on a track that I then had to correct the course and go, no, I'm going to be a drama writer. But it gave me the confidence and flexibility of having been through the program to have the confidence and the courage of my conviction to go, like, no, I know enough about the drama writing process to know I'd be a better fit there. So I'm going to have the courage to not keep going down this path and go over here and try this path. It taught me that there's always another joke. Never be afraid to throw out a joke. You can always find a better one. It gave me a community in LA. The people who were my friends 20 years ago in the Writers Fellowship are still my best friends today. You make friends in the program that stay with you the rest of your life in LA.
Well, let's thank Jane so much. She's doing 8 panels, I think, today. So she's a very busy person. But thank you so much, Jane, for being here. And we're going to continue. We're going to divulge some tips on how you can be a writer in the writer's room, so don't leave. I know you like to stalk Jane. I would stalk Jane, but please don't leave. Frank, definitely the TV writing program is one of the most successful in the entertainment industry. What are the qualities that the writer's program brings to the business? What are the assets of the program to the entertainment industry that the writing program supplies?
Sorry, can you have repeat that again?
What are the assets? What do you think it contributes to the entertainment industry?
Well, I think, like I mentioned briefly in the kind of the overview, the program is set up to bring diverse voices into the entertainment industry. When the program started 23 years ago, there was a feature film component and a television component. And over the years, it's evolved to just be a TV staffing program. We were able to evolve from a training program to really one of the top staffing programs in the industry. So what it does, it creates an opportunity for those who really want to pursue television to have a break. I mean, it really is a place where we can find folks and help break them into getting their start as staff writers, which is really the basic level in getting on a television show and then working your way up.
Kristine, you're a current fellow. How is the program helping you find your voice or get hired? What are the type of things that they're doing for you?
It's really interesting because I thought I knew a lot about myself as a writer going into the program, and even just going through the interview process and just talking about my writing, talking about my personal story, I found out a lot more about my writing. I was just talking with two of the other writers the other day, and we were having a pitch session, which is just, we were throwing out ideas. And it was so interesting because I was trying to, I'm a genre writer, and I was trying to kind of pitch something that's outside of my wheelhouse, and I just realized I kept getting back to something darker, something more genre. And so it was really, it's really interesting because we really have, especially that first month where we are just with each other all day, we're either doing seminars or we're reading each other's work. I mean, you learn a lot about yourself as a writer, and just talking with other writers, and especially reading other writers who are so good. My colleagues who can't be here today are so incredibly talented.
You brought up pitching in a room. Silvia, that's definitely a technique that you have to cultivate, yes?
Yeah, I remember the very first room I was in, the showrunner, he decided every Friday at 9 o'clock in the morning, he would pull me into his office and he'd go over how to pitch. And he would say, you need to be brave, you need to say whatever comes out of your head. And so I went into the writer's room and I was like, I have a pitch on page 1. And I pitched it, no one laughed, and he was like, you think that's funny? We'll tell you that was funny. You know, in my day, like young writers didn't talk, they were just sing. And so the next Friday, I said, you don't want me to talk? He's like, no, I'm trying to get you strong. I want you to keep pitching and keep pitching your stupid jokes, and one day they're going to go in the script. So just be fearless. Just keep pitching. It's something you say may or may not get in, but it will spark another writer. And before you know it, I was on that show for 5 seasons. A lot of the jokes started to go in. And so I would say, not to be afraid. Even if it's crazy, just say it out loud. Just don't get annoying. There are some people who pitch their idea and the showrunner says no, and they keep pitching it and pitching it and pitching it. So you kind of have to weigh the room and really look at the end of the day, this is the showrunner's idea. One day you'll have your own show, and some young person's going to keep trying to change with your ideas. But just keep pitching, but just know when to stop.
Well, not being annoying, that's actually a technique in itself. Definitely in the writer's room, yeah?
Yeah, if not being annoying is very important, like not squeaking your chair over and trying to... can I just tell one little
Yeah,
thing?
please.
So the first show I was on was Alias. That's what and I remember sitting in my living room going, how do I do that? And because of this program, two and a half years later, I was in that writer's room. And I was so starstruck by not only the stars, but the writers. And I tried so hard not to be annoying, but I was such the eager beaver that I was constantly pitching. And I remember I bent someone out of shape because I was always just wanted ideas. I just wanted them to know I was working hard and I really got the show and I really wanted to do this. And someone just took me aside and said, you know, if you relax, we're going to give you a script. You're just talking so much. You're bugging the hell out of everybody. And so I learned that, someone was nice enough to do that, and I learned to calm down and listen to others. I think one of the arts to pitching in a writer's room is the art of listening. Really being able to listen to what's going on the board, to what the subject is on the table, the joke is, the plot point is, and be able to expand on that and help that other person lift their idea up high enough that it lands on the board and lands in an outline.
Giving them.
Ken, I'd like to interject something. We're talking about pitching in the room, but as writers, you have to be able to pitch yourself. And we find that's probably even more difficult for new writers than actually pitching ideas in a room. It's probably easier to pitch ideas in a room than to pitch yourself as a writer. Because when you're pitching yourself, people don't want you to say things like, oh, I'm a hard worker, I love writing, I've been wanting to... They want more from you. They want you to be very personal. They want something to connect with you. When we take our writers through our extensive vetting process, the thing that we're looking for is within that first 20, 30 seconds or that first minute, we want to feel that we are getting tidbits about this person. We're learning about this person, good or bad, actually. but we need something to hang on to. And it's so difficult for some of our writers, because writers are very solitary. They tend to write by themselves. They spend a lot of time alone. But you have to become comfortable as a writer with pitching yourself. You pitch yourself to us, you're pitching yourself to your agent, to your manager. I mean, they're looking at your material, and it has to be solid. But then television is very collaborative. So everyone's thinking, do I want to work with this person? Do I want to work in a writer's room with this person for 10, 12 hours a day? So you have to be able to sell yourself very quickly and give those things that make you the most interesting person. Then they'll be willing to spend that time with you.
So it's, as you say, creating a log line for yourself,
Yes,
yeah?
absolutely.
Katia, how does the program help you develop a log line for yourself?
The program helped me develop a log line for myself insofar as, I forget who it was who said basically a writer's room is sort of like if you're going on the longest car trip imaginable with somebody, and you're going to be in a confined space with people for basically, depending on how long the season lasts, 3, 4, 5 months. And the most important thing that you can convey is that you are not somebody who is going to, be one of these annoying people. You're not the guy who's going to. No. I mean, please. I mean, when I say that, there's a lot of things that you're not supposed to do in the room. You don't want to be the guy who shoots down everybody else's idea.
Yeah.
You don't want to be the guy who, if you pitch something and the showrunner for whatever reason decides not to go with your idea, you don't want to be the person who's like, seething in resentment. You don't want to be that guy, and you want to express to people that you. I think when I spoke with you, when I came in to speak with the fellowship, I mentioned that you always, every showrunner has things that they're really skilled at and things that they maybe need help with. They have certain strengths and certain weaknesses. That's human nature. If you can convey that you are the guy who has the strength that they need, and you can pick up the slack in an area that they're having trouble with, you're the go-to guy for a certain thing, you are going to be able to write your own ticket. Everybody wants somebody who can be a specialist in a certain field. If you can really explain to them how you can make a valuable contribution, they're going to want you in their atmosphere. And so, they basically taught me to understand my own strengths and to really express to people, if you're looking for such A, B, C, I'm the go-to guy, and my scripts reflect that, and I can stand on that.
Kristine, it's a really matter of trial and error, don't you think, about how to express and articulate your strengths as a writer?
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things, especially as writers, I think we're tempted to just be like, it's here on the page. It's, read my script. It's really great. And, or a more modest version of that. But I think that it is really tough to learn how to pitch yourself and to be like, to talk about your story and kind of make it concise. Another thing as writers, I think that's something very important to learn is not to ramble. To be very, to really get it down. And we really, we had a workshop one day where we sat with Frank and Ollie, and we each did our 30-second pitches, and we were timed. So you definitely have to work at it, and you have to think about it. You have to think, what are the things about me that is going to make somebody remember me, and also be like, oh, that's interesting. Tell me more about that. To make them essentially lean forward, which is something we hear a lot. Whether you're pitching an idea or yourself, you want them to lean forward and lean in.
So let me actually build on that on the opposite side, and I asked this at our previous panel on Monday night. I want to go down the line and have each panelist say, what are the things that people do when pitching themselves or when pitching a project that do not make a good impression? Ollie, let's start with you. Just think of me, and then you'll have some ideas.
Like I said, those answers that when someone says something about yourself and you say, I'm a hard worker, or I'm dedicated, or I'm enthusiastic, that's essentially saying nothing, to be honest. What they want you to say, it was interesting, we had an interview this past week with someone for a writer's assistant position. And so she talked about, being in the room and taking notes. And we said, okay, tell us about yourself. Oh, I worked hard, and, when I work on a project, I can take it from the beginning to the end, and, you know, I'm able to really sort through all the ideas that's thrown out in the room and choose those that the showrunner wants to use. And she went on, and we were like, oh, okay. I mean, we asked it in a couple of different ways, and she wasn't able to articulate herself. And so, in the course of the conversation, she kept talking, and she said, oh, yeah, by the way, I'm a mechanical engineer. We're like, okay. Why didn't that come out originally? That's something that's very interesting, that you graduated with a degree as a mechanical engineer, and all of a sudden now you're a writer. You know, and she said, oh, yeah, I have a master's degree from AFI. We're like, oh, my God. You know, this woman is accomplished, but she said none of these things at the office. And we literally had to pull it out. By the time we had to pull it out, we really weren't that interested anymore. So you want to make sure that those things that are the most interesting about you, you push out first.
Right?
When you're meeting with TV people, be passionate about television. We don't like to hear, you know, I like to explore TV, but I really am a filmmaker, and I want to write motion pictures. We checked out a few seconds ago. So I think the idea is whatever it is that you guys want to do, really exude, showing that passion for what it is that you're interested in is going to help connect with the individual you're pitching to, whether you're pitching an idea for a show, whether you're pitching yourself for a potential job, and whatever it is. And you have to explore those things that interest you. I mean, if you think you want to be a TV writer, talk to TV writers, pursue that. If you want to be a comic book person, if you want to be a feature film person, that's great. Just make sure that when you're talking to the individual on the other side, that your passion is conveyed. You know, it's really something you want to do or what you think you're interested in. I think that's really important, to convey your passion.
I would say know your material. Whether you're pitching an idea or pitching yourself, you don't want to come in and stumble a lot or be reading off note cards. If you're coming in with a story idea, know that idea, because the best way to tell it is like you're telling them a story. And if you're reading off note cards, you're going to lose your audience. So that would be my brief.
I would say just sort of a really simple piece of advice, and I don't know if anybody else in the panel can speak to this, but I would say something really important you want to do when you're pitching yourself, when you're pitching a story, you want to talk about it, this is kind of roundabout, you want to talk about it in terms of things you like. Don't talk about things that you hate. Don't say, like, I'm going to do a really great fantasy story, not something really lame like, you know, 300, because you could be talking to somebody. I'm not casting a person about 300. I'm not insulting. I'm not going to violate my own advice. But you could be talking to a person and be like, oh, my cousin wrote that movie. You didn't like it? What did you like about it? And, you know, when you talk about, when you take a superior attitude and you sort of become a snob who sort of turns your nose up at things, that's a really great way to indicate to people that maybe you'll be snobbish if they bring you on their project. Nobody wants to deal with a snob. That's an attitude people are not going to want to deal with if they don't have to, and they don't have to deal with you. So just, you know, don't put on airs. Don't try and be a superior person and talk about you think you're so much better than everything else. It's a really great way to turn people off really fast.
Silvia?
I think if you have a meeting, they already read you, and they love you, and they want to like you. So know that as soon as you go into that interview, they already like your writing, so they want to like you. So you're already way ahead, so don't think that you're not. Another thing is, I don't know, my managers and my agents, what they do is when they prepare me for a meeting, they'll say, you know, this guy, he likes sci-fi, he likes this, he likes that, he's divorced, don't bring up anything about divorce, you know, so they tell me their personal business, as well as things that, you know, that I should stay away from. Also, I do go on Facebook. I see if they have a Facebook page. I go on IMDb and see what they've done, because I want to get a good sense of who they are as well. I'm not saying I'm going to pretend I like something just because they like it, but it's always good to know when you step in that you have all this information and put your best foot forward. But I would always say, know that they read you and they already love you. And if you're pitching an idea, friends who are executives and networks, they want to love your ideas. They're hearing so many ideas they don't like all day. They're hoping yours is the one that's going to help them look good when they go and pitch it to their boss.
In terms of pitching yourself, the only thing I could really add to all this is don't shy away from your uniqueness, and if you've got an icebreaker for that meeting about yourself, where you're just meeting the showrunner who does want to hire you, use it. And if it's something quirky and unique about yourself, you know, to a point, I would say use it. Like, I was Pluto for 2 years at Disney. Now, I was also a songwriter in Nashville, and I was in a band that was signed to the label in Canada. Okay, all that's really cool. But once I come out with, like, I was Pluto, and I saw the world through a frickin' map for 2 years, and passed out twice in the middle of the park because I couldn't breathe, that tends to be like, okay, she's not, like, completely, you know, lead singer of a band thinks she can be a writer, you know, which I'm really not. I really am more the Pluto person. So I just give you that example because we all have something like that, and people love to hear those stories and want to know that person. And when you're in your 12th or 14th hour in a writer's room, that's the stuff you're going to be talking about. And a lot of times, out of that stuff you're talking about comes the idea you've been looking for.
Going back to what Silvia said about checking out Facebook profiles and IMDb, I actually looked at people who are interested in this panel who signed up with my schedule, and I saw someone who was really prepared to be a writer. Is Chris Rafferty here today? Chris, applying everything that the panel said, why don't you come on up and give a 30-second pitch? And this is a 30-second pitch of yourself, definitely not a podcast.
Wow, this was not planned. I had no idea this was going to happen. Thank you, Ken. My name's Chris Rafferty, like you said. Let's see how I pitch myself. I am a white male, so I am nervous about entering these diversity programs. I last year made it as a finalist in the NBC Writers on the Verge. I didn't make it in though, but with the Walking Dead script. Right now I'm writing a castle. Being a white male, I got to figure out what's super interesting about me. I don't have any like really traumatic experiences in my life, or I'm not poor or anything like that. But is that not PC? I'm sorry.
Okay.
One thing. I'm sorry. I'm beyond 30 seconds. All right.
So let's give him a hand first of all. Panelists, can you give him some suggestions?
Suggesting everyone be prepared for these sessions, right? You never know when Ken's going to call you up on stage.
I'm a person who creates opportunities, and I definitely like to utilize this situation to maybe have someone in the spotlight. So if the panel can give one.
I know you brought up about diversity. You should know for our program, we're a diversity of voices, which means anyone can apply. We consider anyone for our programs. We're not looking at specific groups, so really anyone can apply. We want you guys all to apply. So let's be clear for ABC's program, that's how that works. No, I think it's great. I mean, thank you, Ken, for creating that opportunity. You know, it's, that's the challenge. I mean, you know, it's one thing to write your script, it's another thing to be able to pitch yourself in a moment. We tell people, the writers who are in our program, look, you could literally be in the elevator and run into Ann Sweeney, the president of the company, and you've got 20 seconds, 30 seconds to pitch yourself. And so one of the exercises we recommend to writers is, you know, do a 365. You know, talk to your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your mom and dad, people who are friends with you, and ask them something about yourself that's really interesting, because we see ourselves through our lens, right? But everyone's got really interesting things they've done, and you listen to other people tell you about that, and craft that as part of your message. I mean, we work very hard with our writers in working on their branding, their marketing, their personal pitch, their personal logline. But it's so important. I mean, you've got such a small window to make a connection with somebody. And, you know, we had Damon and Carlton from Lost last year talk to our writers, and they said, you know what, first 2 minutes of an interview, we know whether or not we want to work with this person. So if you think about that, you're going into a meeting with a showrunner or a producer, an executive, you've got really 2 minutes to impress them and show them who you are. So not bad for on-the-spot.
So anything tangible, panelists, that he can apply? Ollie? Samantha?
Well, you know, I think, you know, of course there's many things about yourself. You did mention The Walking Dead. You know, you can say, someone said something really interesting to us just recently. She works on Beauty and the Beast. And she said, this is like a dream come true. I feel like Cinderella. I'm in this fairy tale world. So she was able to take the experience that she had and to think about that little girl who dreamed about fairy tales and watched fairy tales. And now she's kind of in this magical place where they're creating these stories. So she connected that to her. And we thought that was very interesting. So it's those things that you have to connect. And like Frank said, have people around you that know you, that talk to you. Ask them about you. You know? Are you funny? We have comedy writers that come in, and the entire time they're there, they're never funny. Like, oh my God! Really? So, I mean, it's those things about yourself, because whether it's right or wrong or good or bad, if you're thinking about television, which is a very collaborative environment, so it's about personalities. Yes, it's about stories. You have to be able to create stories. You have to be solid on the page. But down the line, everyone you meet, chances are, like Silvia and Samantha said, they read you and they like you. They like what they see on the page. They like your writing. But now they want to figure out whether they like you. And that's your opportunity.
Samantha, you're going to say something?
Has anyone said you look like a showrunner? Doesn't he look like you look like a showrunner? So you should know that. You should take confidence in it. I think it's okay. I think it's good to say, you know, where you went to school. You know, there's just, you know, where you went to college. If you went to college, what you're doing now that makes you not poor. Because, you know, it's just anything that the other person might find interesting or connect with or just start a conversation. Because a lot of times I find I get less nervous if in that first 15, 30 seconds of the interview, I've had just a little back and forth, even if it's like, oh, you went to UCLA, well, I'm a USC person. Oh, sorry. Okay. You know, at least we've taken a little breath and we can move forward. But just something a little more about you. More about you.
In the last moments that we have, you get hired in a writer's room, you're writing. How can you ensure that you stay hired in the writer's room?
You have to be a team player. I mean, I can't tell you, from my personal experience, I can't tell you how many nights, Friday nights, I've been the one person in the room and the writer's assistant. Because everyone had meetings, or they're developing other shows, or someone's off the script, and they need someone in the room to keep going at 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. That doesn't always happen, but if you can be a team player and be willing to be that person, the showrunner knows they can count on you, and people trust you and want you back the next season.
Silvia?
First of all, there are a lot of reasons. You know, when you're on a show, the showrunner may get fired. They bring in a new showrunner who wants all their people. So there are a lot of reasons why you could lose your job, and you're doing great. You're doing everything you should be doing. I would say it always comes down to personality. It always comes down to, do I want to be with this person for 14 hours a day? And you don't want to be with the nag. You don't want to be with the person who isn't a team player. Just be nice. Just be nice, be a team player. I would come the next morning and I'd go to my showrunner's office and say, I was thinking about what we were talking about, and I have this idea. And I remember she brought it up, that she said, you know, Sylvia goes home, your husband and her kids, and she's still thinking about the show. That means a lot to me. She brought that up in the room. So I would say that to know that you're a team player and be nice.
I would say, you know, everything that's been said so far is absolutely correct. I would say a good way is also be really good at breaking story. You always want to be the guy who, if people get jammed up, if they have writer's block, you want to try to the greatest extent possible to be the guy who can get through the log jam and come up with a solution that gets the story going on track. And also figure out if there's anything you can do to just go above and beyond. You know, a great guy who also works with the fellowship who can't be here today, Tim McNeil, told me, you know, when I got staff, you always want to be the first one in, last man out, and you always want to demonstrate that you are more passionate about being in that room than anybody else. And, you know, there's a lot of things you can do. A good trick, simple thing, because I know we're pressed for time, whenever anybody comes up with any idea for anything in the room, even if they decide not to do it, at that exact moment, you want to write it down and you want to compile a long list of all the ideas that anybody ever mentioned, because once you get to week 12, 13, 14, they might really be tired. They might need ideas. They might need, like, what did we say, on Tuesday, back, like 3 weeks ago? And if you're the guy who has that list and you keep track of everything, you're going to be a very valuable person in the room. And it goes to being a team player and being all that stuff.
Kristine?
One of the things that is totally ground into our heads the first month when we're doing all those seminars is don't be the naysayer in the room. Don't be the person when somebody pitches an idea, go, no, that doesn't work, and then have nothing to say to build on it. And there are people in the room who will do that, and you would think this is kind of like a given, that you want to be really helpful, and you want to not just shoot down people with ideas. So.
Frank and Ollie, last comment?
Very quick, I know we're out of time. Be very positive. Be high energy. Oftentimes we make decisions on who stays with the show. It's not as much based on the material, it's more based on the personality and the energy you bring to the room. So always be positive, constructive, and just be the glass half full as opposed to the glass half empty.
And I say, if you're interested in television, you said it. You applied to the NBC program. CBS has a program, Fox has a program, Warner Brothers has a program, ABC has a program. And we all get thousands of applications each year. So I say apply. Just apply. We have no application fee. Apply once, twice, 3, 4 times, it doesn't matter. Just apply. Because each time you apply and each time you're writing, you're growing as a writer. Each time you have an interview, you're growing, you're able to pitch yourself, and you as a writer become more aware of who you are.
So
just put yourself out there.
Sorry, we have to stop. So hopefully we'll see some of your applications to the program. Thank you so much for attending, and have a great WonderCon.